Hi guys, it's Janet. I have Xavion Santiago with me with the DC public school system. She's got her babies in the background and I got my two dogs in the background. So this is real life right here. First question to you, what are your thoughts and feelings on current events right now?
So ironically, we just found out that we are most likely possibly have a new president-elect. Hold on, baby, we'll play with slime when I'm done, okay? Okay, here. And so it's a moment of kind of relief almost, like we finally have an answer, and then a moment of hope, because it's not that doesn't mean anything is over. It just means we have the opportunity to progress and we have the opportunity for more work to be done. So it was definitely a week full of stress, not necessarily anxiety, but just stress watching the numbers go up. A little bit of disappointment due to all of the recent circumstances. I didn't think the election would be so close, but this is America and everyone's allowed to choose who they want to vote for. So I'm just happy that we possibly have some change coming.
In your opinion, moving forward, what's the biggest barriers to having productive conversations about race relations?
No one wants to be accused of something, and no one wants to feel like they have to defend their entire race or their entire generation or an entire class of citizens. But conversations need to be had where everyone's not on the defensive, where we come to a conversation to learn about how other people feel and how we can progress. We can't necessarily say just forget the past. That's not progressive either. And we can't tell people how to feel about the past or the history or what they've lived through or what their parents have lived through. We can't approach it in a defensive or an offensive manner. We just have to approach it from okay, this is where I am. I'm sorry if I have personally done anything to offend you, but how can I move forward with you? We have to move forward together. We can't always be like, well, you owe me this, or you did this, or I can't forgive you because of this, because everyone has a different history, but we also have some shared history. As Americans, we have shared history from the regions we live in or the backgrounds we're from. Okay, baby, I'll get it in 1 second. Get car can get it. We just have to approach it that way, that if you really want to progress forward, you can't attack. You can't accuse people of being one thing or the other, because just because we point out, oh, you're racist for this, accusing someone or calling someone something doesn't move us forward. That just identifies how you feel about that. But then we're still here. We're not moving forward together. So there has to be conversations about, we have to be willing to apologize and be willing to witness where we may have offended someone and understand how that offended them. And then both parties have to be willing to work together. There will be frustrating conversations. There will be moments where we need to take a break and back away and come back to certain situations. But there's definitely places where everyone can learn from everyone and move forward.
Moving into athletic training, tell me about an embarrassing moment you've had.
There's actually a picture of this on Facebook, but I lose my stuff all the time. I have tiles on my wallet. I have tiles on my keys. So one time when I was working at a different high school, I actually locked my keys in the stadium. I don't even know how I got out of the stadium, but I was in the stadium and the keys were in the stadium and the gate. No, actually, I needed to open the emergency gate and I didn't have the keys. So there's a picture of me on Facebook crawling under the gate because I'm not a very large athletic trainer. One of my friends calls me a pocket-sized athletic trainer. So it's a picture of me like climbing under the gate to get on the other side to get to the keys that were in the gator. But I still don't know how I got locked. Maybe the custodian locked the gate and my keys were on the gator. I don't know. But I know the gate was locked and I couldn't climb over it. So I had to go under it. So there's a picture of me on Facebook under our security gate to get back to my keys in my gator. And I have tiles now to identify stuff when I've lost it, but I have not stopped losing things. It really didn't teach me a lesson other than to buy a tile so I know where my stuff is when I lose it. But yeah.
No, the lesson is you learn from your mistakes and you focus on your strengths and weaknesses.
And now I have a way to identify when I lose stuff, as opposed to running around the campus and then realizing I have to climb into the stadium somehow. And luckily, underworked. I didn't get stuck, although I thought I was, because I may be a short person, but this noggin is kind of big. But I fit under the gate. And my student athletic trainer was kind enough to take a picture of me going under the gate.
I mean, that's what student athletic trainers, that's part of their duties and responsibilities.
She is now a fantastic athletic trainer, all her own. But thanks to her, I have photo memory of why I have tiles on all of my possessions currently.
All right. What advice would you give to young professionals and students of athletic training?
Definitely for young professionals and students, our profession can sometimes be overwhelming, like especially when you're a new professional and you're at a new job and you want to institute everything you just learned. You're going to burden yourself and you're going to burn out. So always approach situations and do it step by step. Like if you're a new athletic trainer, I'm in the secondary school setting. So if you're my first job after grad school, I had a whole high school with like 50 sports all to myself. So I was trying to do everything. I was trying to fill up everybody's water. I was trying to institute all of these protocols and do this and that. And I would be there for hours. I was working way more hours than I should have been. As athletic trainers, we already work long hours, but there's no need for you to set a schedule and work the hours that you are being paid for. Don't work from sunup to sundown if they're only paying you for 8 hours. Work for the hour. Do your most diligent work for those 8 hours. Make a schedule, plan out your task so that you know, okay, I'm going to get this done, that done, that done. And then revisit your schedule. Make sure you've crossed out what you've done, what you still need to do. Follow up on your task. But definitely don't try to change a whole program or build a whole program at one time. Try to figure out, well, what needs to be done my first year? Like, do I need to institute preseason concussion testing and hydration testing? Okay, we'll do that this year. And then next year, maybe we'll do some baseline movement screens to help with preventing injuries. But we can't do all of that in 1 year because we can't have kids in our room for 2 hours before practice. Or they'll tell their friends, don't go see her because you'll never get out. So you have to kind of map out what you want to do at your job. Or if you're going to a college setting, you can't go in and change the whole way the program is run. Sit down, figure out what they do and how you fit into the program. Always be a student. There's a reason we have to do continuing education. It's not so that once you graduate, okay, if it came out after I graduated, then I'm not going to learn it. That's definitely not how this field works. There's always new techniques coming out, new ways to do things. So always be willing to learn, be a student. Don't just do CEUs to get them out of the way. Don't be willing to act in our young professionals.
So tell me a little bit about how you've managed work-life balance with 3 little ones and how it compares to your coworkers' responsibilities.
So I have definitely been getting all of my steps in, filling in all of my rings since the pandemic started. We have set up workstations for the 2 who are in school, that they're not too far from our workstation. So if somebody yells, Mom or Dad, we can be like, okay, I'll be right back, or pause what we're doing and go help them. So my normal work hours were from like noon or 1 to whatever time. Okay, baby, come here. Whatever time our games were over. So if it was a later season, we went in later just so we worked the 8 hours that we needed to work. But since we've been home for the pandemic, initially my husband and I were like, well, what are our work hours going to be? You're welcome. So I've tried to still kind of structure my hours the way they would be. So I start later in the day, which gives me time to get the kids' school stuff set up and help take some of the load off of my husband, because his hours are still ironically not 8 to 4. He doesn't work 9 to 5, he works 8 to 4. So I would start my day a little later, like around 1, which is after lunch and after the whole bulk of virtual learning for my 2. I have a 6-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 2-year-old. So my 6-year-old and my 4-year-old start school at 8, and the 4-year-old's actually done by noon. The 6-year-old has a lunch break and then some asynchronous projects, and then he goes back for math at 2. So I have a million, turn this sound off. I have an alarm on my phone for everything. And it tells me like my oldest son's phonics, my youngest son's number skills. So I constantly have my watch buzzing on my phone going off to kind of keep us on schedule. unfortunately, my 2-year-old is just kind of rogue at this point because she's not in school and she's 2. So, and she's the youngest and she's a girl. So she's just she's running around now dressed as Elsa playing with slime. It's Saturday, but even if it were Monday, that's what she would be doing. So we kind of just make sure she's safe and then go back and forth with the 2 kids. I try to make their spaces as independent as they could be. And then I'm normally in a meeting on Mondays by 12:30. Some other meetings with my school are in the morning. I just kind of try to have a phone or an iPad so I can be mobile. It's just definitely, as an athletic trainer, we're used to thinking on our feet. So I'm kind of using that to move into this virtual motherhood workload that I have going on. Sorry, someone's screaming. But it's definitely been interesting. It's definitely been a couple of late nights as well when we're working on projects. I can't really get them done. I'll help you. Come here. I can't really get them done during regular hours. So there were a couple of late nights when we were first working on policies and procedures when the pandemic first hit and we were at home. And now I have like my virtual athletic training room hours that they start later in the day and they go till about 6 to 7 o'clock so that the kids have time to actually have my attention and my students actually have time to have my attention. So it's been a challenge, but a balance. It's not broken. Roll it around. Okay, baby. Okay. Let's play something else. Sorry. Someone is sleepy.
Oh.
This is the rogue one.
She's got an independent spirit.
Now, as far as my coworkers go, there's another coworker who is balancing her children. Our 2-year-olds are actually 2 months apart. So sometimes they FaceTime, but she's been kind of balancing the same way. She has stations set up. And sometimes during the FaceTime meeting, she has to yell some instructions really quick. But we have another coworker. I think things are just different. Like even for my husband, he helps, but I think the workload is different for female athletic trainers. Because even in life, naturally the workload is different for mom than it is for dad. They'll come to me for certain things. They'll go to dad for certain things. Like dad is home today, but she ran to me. Let's turn it down a little bit. So I just think that's natural. Like when it's playtime, they run to dad, but for 90% of their needs, they'll come to mom. And I know some moms watching this, like they'll literally walk around dad to come find you. And we're like, he's right there. Just ask him. He has hands too. But for some reason in kids' minds, it's mom. Mom is the person we go to. So as far as a professional, I chose to be in secondary school. I'm not like settling to be in secondary school. That's been a question I've been asked before. But coming right out of college, I had no interest in secondary school. In my undergrad program, we rotate different settings to see which one you like. Secondary school didn't really appeal to me. College sports did, just from the level of competition and the type of athlete that you get. But after my internship, I actually applied for a job at a secondary school to come home to Maryland because I was in North Carolina for grad school. And then I was like, high school athletes are college athletes in training, kind of, sort of, was my first initial thought. But then once I got there, I was like, I want to be here because I feel like I have a bigger influence on the future of athletic training, as well as a bigger influence on that population's healthcare, because some teenagers just do stuff because their friends do it. I felt like I had more of an impact to educate at that level. So I chose secondary school, and that's where I want to be. But a lot of people think, oh, it's because of the hours for motherhood. No, our games go till 9 or 10 o'clock at night. My kids are usually asleep when I get home. But for our profession, it is definitely more of a choice for women. Are you going to stay in the profession and be a mother? Or are you going to take care of somebody else's kids? Or are you going to take care of your own kids? Because most jobs, you go to work, drop them off to school, go to work, come home for dinner. For our job, mom makes dinner in the crock pot, leaves a Post-it for dad, so dad can manage when he's home with 3 by himself. So we kind of definitely, I have a wonderful husband who I actually left athletic training for 4 years after I had my first son. I left athletic training because of that fear, because I was like, oh, I'm never going to see my son. He's going to be asleep when I leave or when I get home at night. Like, we're only going to have time in the morning before I go to work. But my husband saw that I love athletic training. Like, it's not just my job, it's my passion. I love helping people. So he told me, he said, whatever we need to do, like how we have to arrange childcare for you to go back to athletic training, we'll do it. So after I had my second son, that's when the job in DC opened, and I came back. And my husband was like, yeah, I'll get them to T-ball. I'll get off work early if I need to. Like, if you work on the weekends, we have a schedule on the fridge, and we have a family schedule on our phones, because he works in recreation. So sometimes, like, he had to work this morning. So normally he would go into work, but he's virtually doing stuff today. So we just we have to work together in a partnership to make it work. But I definitely left the profession for 4 years because I was like, I'm not going to see my kids. And then we had that conversation, like, you can see your kids, you're just not going to see them as often as people think you should see your kids. Like, yeah, you won't be there for dinner every night, but your kids will be fed. You'll see them in the morning. They'll be in bed. They'll be bathed. They won't be hanging from the curtains. So it was definitely a conversation that we had. But my husband knows that I love the profession. So he was like, yeah, you can definitely go back to athletic training. He even said, if you start to, because that's one thing that moms have, mom guilt, and we miss our kids, or we're like, we aren't spending enough time with our kids. We've been at work too long. Our kids are going to miss us. There's all kinds of crazy thoughts that go through your mind as a mom. And my husband was like, if you ever need me, like, basketball season is probably my roughest season because my high school does not have football. Basketball seasons are long nights in the winter, and sometimes back-to-back games. Like, we'll have games Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And the kids will be asleep when I get home, and the two oldest, I'll drop them off at school, and then I won't see them until the next morning when I drop them off to school. So he said, there's ever a time where you miss the kids, just tell me and we'll come to a basketball game and cheer for your school and then go eat McDonald's or whatever after. Like, so he's amazing in that aspect, that he'll take care of the kids and pick up the workload when I'm not home. And then if I ever need to see my kids, he's like, I'll just bring them to the game. So that's been wonderful. But I know there are some moms who don't have that support system, who can't bring their kids to work on a day when they don't have childcare. And that's a discussion that has to be had with your administration, or even, I know if you're a young athletic trainer, that might not be a discussion when you start the job, but that's a discussion you may have to have when you start a family. Hey, I've been here for this amount of years. We're going to start a family. There may be times when I have to take off for my kid, or I have to bring my kid in. Is that okay? And I feel comfortable with some places now that it's 2020, that'll happen. But I know there's some other athletic trainers, some of my classmates even, who have left their profession or changed profession or gone another route in healthcare because it wasn't conducive to family life. And I don't want to bash dads. Dads are amazing. But I don't feel like that load is the same on fathers, because mommy's there. So if you're a male athletic trainer, then mommy picks up the workload for you. Sometimes, not all the time. There are some amazing dads out there. I don't want to make this seem super one-sided, but from my aspect, I don't know if we were both athletic trainers, how that would work. Those families that both of you are athletic trainers, you are superheroes, because I don't know how it would work if we both didn't have opposite schedules so we could parent and work at different times. But I definitely feel like our profession can be misleading, that you can't be a athletic trainer and a mother of one kid or even multiple kids without compromising somewhere.
All right, Xavion, next couple minutes for you, your final statement.
Well, one, thank you so much for having me. I love your chats, and I love the diversity of topics that all the athletic trainers speak on, to show that our profession is definitely not one-sided. There's a whole lot that we're doing out here, which is amazing. But my final statements for athletic trainers, to use this time in history to be more than just an athletic trainer. Like, your work setting, more than likely you're working with someone or a group of people that don't look like you. Learn more about them and learn how you can help them know more about you without having to be a representative for your entire race or population. The only way that we're going to work through this time in history and come out better is to be willing to work with each other and learn from each other. It's right here in my hand. And to all my female athletic trainers, you're amazing, and you will be amazing parents and athletic trainers. as one climbs on me. So don't be discouraged when you have a bad day, or don't think that your kids aren't watching you, and don't think you're amazing, because they are, and they do. Yeah, it's not your talk, it's mine. You could talk to Miss Janet later. Athletic trainers are superheroes that don't wear capes, so continue to be amazing.
Xavion, thank you so much for this, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.